Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so that potential buyers can learn more about the business and the seller to help them make an informed buying decision. If you would like to learn more about this business, including details like what type of business it is, how much revenue and profit it makes, and all of the assets included with the business, simply visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business's listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and in the description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. First up, let's learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us about your background in building and running online businesses?
My name is John, and this Amazon business grew out of an existing family-owned mail order business. We started selling on Amazon around 2017, basically as an afterthought, actually. It was somewhere that we used to move inventory that our mail order customers didn't want. Basically, it was better than closing it out for 5 cents to big lots. Business grew steadily from there, and it got to us, to where we are now. And in general, my background is in product and operations and anything about selling on Amazon or FBA when I started, and just sort of figured it all out as we went along.
Why are you selling the business now instead of keeping it and growing it further?
The reason that I'm selling this business is long and convoluted, but the short of it is that it's a family-owned company, and it's also a family-owned warehouse. And my extended family has decided to sell the building, the warehouse that the business is housed in. I'm the only one who didn't want to sell. Basically, I've had the rug pulled on me, and has not been fun. And really, unwinding this Amazon business is part of making a clean break and moving on. It's the way of a family business, but it is time to let this one go.
Can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business to maintain it?
See, the amount of work to run this business, probably 20 hours a week, I would guess. I'll give you the general flow is, it starts with sourcing product through our vendors, the trading houses that we've got relationships with that are all based in Taiwan or Hong Kong. You put in an order with them or you source an item. Then they have the order prepared. A freight forwarder, gets the goods to the port, handles the export from wherever it's coming from, arranges all the ocean shipment. And then the freight forwarder also handles the import and drayage that gets the goods to our warehouse. From there, we'll take most of the inventory that comes in and we'll send it to FBA warehouses. We'll also hold back some amount of that stock, and we'll use that to fulfill FBM orders ourselves out of the stock that we keep in our warehouse. So that's something that you probably look at every couple of weeks, just to make sure that you've got the right goods coming in, that you need to have new orders being placed. The more daily stuff is buyer communication on Seller Central. For us, that's mostly people who want to know where their stuff is. We buy all of our shipping through Amazon for individual FBM orders. This just amounts to, hey, here's your tracking number. It got delivered. If you have any complaints, you need to go and talk to Amazon because we've held up our end of the bargain. And then the managing of FBA stock and making sure that we don't hold too much so we're not being penalized, but make sure that we're not running low, running out of stock, getting penalized, missing orders. So I think all in, it's probably 20 hours a week, but it can vary. You can go a week where you do 5 hours of work, or you can do, a week where you got 30 hours of work, but relatively unpredictable.
So if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways you would try to grow it?
If I were to keep this business, I think the number one thing that we would do would be advertising. We've never advertised on Amazon or anywhere else for that matter. We looked into it, 7 years ago, but to be perfectly honest, I just couldn't be bothered. I would suspect that if you had somebody who knew what they were doing, that spending some targeted ad dollars would probably make a ton of sense and give you some pretty above average ROI. Let's see, the next point I'd go with is our storefront. It's a joke. There are 10 things up there, not professionally photographed, that don't really make sense. They're not our best sellers. Again, I just couldn't be bothered. But I think if somebody had a vision for what they wanted a storefront to look like, it would be a massive upgrade on what we currently have. We also don't use any third-party APIs, third-party apps, third-party integrations, Jungle Scout, and the like. So I'm sure there is a ton of optimization to be done that we just don't do. We've never done anything to optimize any of our listings. No videos, no professional photography. That, I think, probably would be the biggest. I probably should have led with that. And the final one I can think of would be, we've got a brand registered with Brand Registry. That again, we've got a couple pages that were set up under that brand, but it's a moat we haven't worked to get much behind. So I think somebody could run with that and make that a pretty valuable piece of it.
Right. And what would you say are the biggest risks with this business that buyers should be aware of?
For me, the biggest risk associated with this has always been just being on Amazon. I've heard a bunch of stories of Amazon sort of shutting people down for no reason, or hey, you get a couple complaints and the algorithm decides, yeah, we don't want you as a buyer anymore. That has always been in the back of my mind and something I'm nervous about. I do think that with our sales volume and the number of reviews that we've got, I think we're probably past that stage where we can just be arbitrarily shut down. I think we'd at least get some contact from Amazon before they did anything arbitrary. But yeah, that's always the one that I think gives me the most cause for concern.
How much support are you willing to offer the buyer who acquires this business?
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with buyer. I would definitely run through everything that we're doing right now, all of our processes, and I'd be happy to do that for a couple months. Happy to give some insight onto why things are the way they are with our business. I would also be very interested in passing on our contacts in Taiwan and Hong Kong. They are vendors we've worked with for 30 years, going back to our mail order days before we started selling on Amazon. They are fantastic. They're personal family friends now, and those guys are pretty good. So I would definitely pass that information along. I'm happy to work with people. I built this business, so I'd love to see somebody take it on and grow it way beyond what I've done.
Are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out agreement?
I am not interested in any sort of earn-out payment structure, just due to the nature of the family dynamics. For me, this is a sell it, move on, happy to help out, for a couple months, but this is not something that I want to think about for all that long. So I'm not interested in earn-out.
Okay, final question. If you had to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why is your business a business worth buying?
For me, if I were on the other side of this, I think as a buyer, what I would find valuable is that this is a steady business that's churning out $175,000 worth of SDE every year with really minimal effort going into it. And so if I were looking for something that, hey, I'm going to buy it and then just sort of run it on autopilot, this works for that. If I had a vision and I said, oh, you know what, I really think I can grow something, this is the sort of business I'd want to buy, because you're not into it for all that much money. And you've got a business that is, to be honest, has been an afterthought for somebody else. And so somebody who actually can dedicate time and bandwidth to it, I think could really grow this to something that is meaningfully larger. And for an existing business, somebody who's thinking about this as an add-on, I think the most valuable thing would be honestly buying our contacts with suppliers overseas. These guys that we've built these relationships with, I've literally seen them source basically everything that can be found in Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, Vietnam. So I think that alone, for the right buyer, probably worth the price of admission. Overall, I think it's the fact that it's a business that can be had relatively inexpensively, that has a lot of space to be optimized and grown.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this business is still for sale, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll find everything you need to know about this business. So, thanks for joining us. See you next time.